What if I told you Jesus warned us that marriage is not for everyone? What if I told you that desire is not the same as readiness, and that attraction is not the same as capacity? In Matthew 19, Jesus raised a standard so heavy, even his disciples trembled. They heard him say marriage takes maturity, grace, and calling, and they wondered if anyone could truly handle it. When the Pharisees tried to trap him with questions about divorce, Jesus didn't bend to culture. He went back to creation's blueprint: the two shall become one flesh. God's original design was never for easy separation, never for disposable commitments. Divorce, he said, was only allowed because of hard hearts, not because it pleased God. That truth confronted them, and it still confronts us today in a world of broken vows. The disciples, shocked by his words, cried out, "If that's the case, maybe it's better not to marry at all." Their reaction shows us something important. They weren't planning divorce, but they realized the weight of what he was saying. Marriage wasn't light. It wasn't optional faithfulness. It was covenant. No backdoor. No escape. And the thought of such binding commitment made even the closest followers of Jesus hesitate in fear. But Jesus didn't soften his words. He pressed further. He said not everyone is mature enough for marriage. It requires a certain aptitude and grace. That's a warning many skip over. Aptitude means inner readiness, character, and ability. Grace means God's help to carry what human strength alone cannot. He was saying love songs and butterflies aren't enough. You need strength and surrender. Without it, marriage becomes unbearable instead of beautiful. Think about it. Marriage is more than sharing a bed, splitting bills, or wearing rings. It is two lives dying to self and becoming one. It is patience tested, forgiveness demanded, and selfishness crucified. Without aptitude, immaturity ruins it. Without grace, pride destroys it. Without calling, timing collapses it. That is why Jesus said some people will never marry, and others will choose not to, for kingdom reasons. Our culture says everyone should marry, that love will conquer all, that feelings can carry you through. But Jesus says feelings can't hold up the weight of covenant. You need foundation. You need discipline. You need grace. Some are called to singleness, some are called to marriage. Both require surrender. But the danger is entering marriage unprepared, then crying for escape when storms reveal what was never built. Jesus wasn't attacking marriage. He was protecting it. He was lifting it from culture's shallow view to heaven's holy design. He was showing us that covenant is heavy because glory is heavy. Marriage is meant to reflect God's faithfulness to his people, Christ's love for the church. That's no small picture. That's not something to play with. It's eternal in weight, sacred in purpose, and impossible without God's grace. The disciples' panic was real. If this is marriage, who can survive it? And Jesus answered, not everyone can. He divided the crowd with truth. Some never think of marriage. Some never get the opportunity. Some sacrifice marriage for the kingdom's sake. And some are called to embrace it with all its weight. His words make one thing clear: marriage is not guaranteed. It is stewardship. So what does aptitude look like? It looks like patience that doesn't snap when conflict comes. It looks like faithfulness when attraction fades. It looks like humility that listens instead of fights to win. It looks like forgiveness that doesn't keep score. Aptitude is maturity in motion. It's the daily disciplines of selflessness, kindness, and sacrifice. Without this, marriage suffocates. With it, marriage flourishes under the breath of God. And what about grace? Grace is what carries you when your strength runs out. Grace is what makes love possible when frustration fills the room. Grace is the supernatural ability to remain faithful when feelings fail. Grace is the presence of God in the middle of human weakness. Jesus was clear. Marriage requires grace because covenant love is not natural. It is divine. It is sustained by God himself. Now pause and think. How many marriages collapse not because love died, but because grace was absent? How many relationships break not because of betrayal, but because pride refused humility? Jesus wasn't just warning his disciples. He was warning us. Don't rush into covenant without aptitude. Don't say, I do, without grace. Don't build on feelings and expect permanence. Build on God, or it will fall apart in storms. This is why marriage is not for everyone. Some will not be called. Some will not be ready. And some will be more fruitful serving God single. There is no shame in that. The danger is pretending readiness when you're unprepared. Jesus freed us from cultural pressure to marry for the sake of appearance. He said plainly, if you can grow into the largeness of marriage, do it. If not, wait. Notice his language, grow into the largeness of marriage. That means it's not about perfection before you start, but willingness to grow once you step in. Marriage is enlarging because it stretches you. It exposes selfishness, it magnifies flaws, it demands patience. But with grace, that enlargement makes you more like Christ. Without grace, it just breaks you. That's why growth is required. Maturity is not optional. Notice his language, grow into the largeness of marriage. That means it's not about perfection before you start, but willingness to grow once you step in. Marriage is enlarging because it stretches you. It exposes selfishness, it magnifies flaws, it demands patience. But with grace, that enlargement makes you more like Christ. Without grace, it just breaks you. That's why growth is required. Maturity is not optional. So what's the warning? Jesus was saying don't enter marriage casually. Don't let pressure push you. Don't mistake loneliness for readiness. Don't mistake attraction for calling. Marriage will test your character, and only God's grace can make it last. The disciples' fear was valid, but Jesus gave clarity. It's not for everyone, but for those who can embrace it with faith, maturity, and surrender, it is glorious. Today, too many rush in with dreams but no discipline, with romance but no roots. And when reality hits, they collapse. Jesus' words echo through time. Count the cost. Marriage is beautiful, but heavy. Rewarding, but stretching. Sacred, but demanding. Don't envy others' weddings. Don't idolize others' love stories. Seek God's will for you. Because whether married or single, the highest calling is faithfulness to God first. And maybe that's the real heart of the warning. Marriage is not ultimate, God is. The kingdom comes first. If you are called to marriage, let it glorify God. If you are called to singleness, let it glorify God. What matters most is obedience. What matters most is surrender. Jesus doesn't want us trapped in broken commitments. He wants us free in covenant faithfulness. That freedom begins with wisdom. So hear me, Jesus warned about marriage, but he also blessed it. His warning wasn't rejection, but preparation. He wasn't closing the door, he was raising the bar. He was teaching us that covenant requires more than desire. It requires design, discipline, and divine grace. That's how marriages become testimonies, not tragedies. That's how relationships reflect heaven, not chaos. That's how love endures storms, not just seasons. If you're listening right now and you're single, don't rush. Ask God for aptitude. Ask Him for grace. Ask Him for clarity. If you're married, lean on His grace daily. Let Him enlarge your heart with patience, forgiveness, and faithfulness. If you're divorced, know that His mercy covers you and His love restores. Jesus' standard was never to shame you, but to remind you, covenant was always holy. Before I close, let me pause and say this. If this message has opened your eyes, subscribe to this channel right now. Stay connected for more truth that breaks chains and reveals God's heart. Don't just scroll away. There's wisdom here you need for life, relationships, and destiny. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next word that could change everything. Marriage is not for everyone. That's not an insult, it's truth. Jesus warned His disciples, and He warns us still. It takes aptitude, it takes grace, it takes surrender. Don't envy others. Don't rush yourself. Seek God's will, because His design is always perfect. Whether you walk single or married, the call is the same, faithfulness. The reward is the same, eternal life. And the strength is the same, Jesus, holding you together.